Hi, this is Dave Julian, and I'm going to show you how to automate Photoshop using an action droplet. Now, a droplet is a standalone mini application that lives right on your desktop or in any folder full of files, and you can drag your file or folder onto it and it'll run whatever action you assign to it. And for those of you who don't know about actions, they're very powerful scripts that run a series of moves in Photoshop so that you can repeat them on any file. So without further ado, let's go see how to make them. Part 1, making an action. Sometimes you have a layered document like this one, and what you really want is a flattened document, like a JPEG, for instance, something that you can use online or that you can upload to a server somewhere that doesn't have the layers, and it's kind of a final format for transporting lightweight Photoshop documents. So obviously one can make one by just going up and doing a save as and getting to the place where you specify the kind of document, but that's not really what I want to do. I want to create an action that automates that, and then after having that action I can now create a droplet application that sits on the desktop, and I can drag files or folders into it and automatically process all of them at once. You can add as many different actions to the process as you want, such as adding a copyright or even creating some kind of an expanded canvas, whatever you might want. But my purpose is to help my students convert their large layered files into a flattened file that is the right bit depth, the right color space, and the right size for me to use for archiving their work and for grading their projects. So let me show you how that's done. So I'm going to create an action that lives in this Actions panel, and I've already got a folder for my file reducer actions. So it's nice to create folders to keep your actions in so they're organized, and so I'm going to begin by having Photoshop watch me do the steps to create the kind of file I want, and it's going to record these as an action, and once I'm finished with recording the action, I can take that one and create a desktop droplet for it. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to create a new action, and I've already, if I highlight this folder, it's going to create the action in the right folder. So I go to New Action. I use abbreviations for my actions, so I'm going to call this PSD, and I use a right arrow to JPG for JPEG, at 72, in this case pixels per inch, 8-bit, and it's also sRGB at 1000 pixels. So that's a lot of words in a short space. You can see that it's going into my DJAIS file reducer actions. AIS, by the way, is for Art Institute students. And I'm not going to assign a function key, but you could assign a desktop keyboard function key. I'm going to hit record, and now the record button's lit up, and I begin my action. So the first thing I'm going to do is flatten these layers. So I go to Layer, I can go to Flatten Image, and there's the first thing being written down. I'm also going to change it into a 16-bit, into an 8-bit. There it goes. And I'm going to also convert this image down into the sRGB profile, so it adds that to it. And lastly, I'm going to resize the image, so I need to go to Image, Image Size. In this case, I'm going to change it, and you always have to have Resample checked off, by the way, and I'm going to put this on Automatic, just for the time being, and I'm going to put in the resolution of 72, and that's pixels per inch. I'm also going to ask that this is a I'm not going to call it by inches, I'm going to call it by pixels. It's going to be a 1000 pixel high image. So this action will always size my images at 1000 pixels high by whatever their width is at 72 pixels per inch. So there it goes. I'm just going to move it over here, and that's the image size. And lastly, we want to save it as a JPEG. So I go to File, Save As. I'm going to bring this up so you can see it. Save it as JPEG, which is just a little bit out of your window, but you can see that that's where I'm going. And it's already going to embed the sRGB that I've created. And in this case, I'm just going to save it right back where it was. I'm going to give it this particular quality of JPEG, which is 11 out of 12. That's a pretty high quality JPEG. And that's it. I can now stop the action with the stop button. And I'm going to go back in history and bring this open to the last place I was before I began the action. And that's right here. And I'm going to just do that so that I can show you how the action works. So if you're normally going to use an action just out of your Actions panel, all you need to do is highlight, select the action, and hit the play button. And it's going to very quickly, it did actually very quickly go through and create all of those steps. The next part of this is to take that action and automate it even further by using a droplet.